Hi, this is Andrew Spoth with Smart Enterprise, and today I'm speaking with Larry Ponemon with the Ponemon Institute. Larry, welcome, and perhaps you could say a few words about the Institute before we get started.
Well, thank you for this opportunity to talk with you today. Ponemon Institute is a research company, and we're linearly focused on three things: privacy, data protection, and information security. We've been around for now 12 years, and we continue to do what I think is fun stuff, good research, and we love working with CA. You're one of our crown jewel sponsors.
So Larry, CA Technologies recently commissioned a study, the state of cloud security, and we'd love to chat about the findings of that. Could you kind of give us a quick fly through the high points, or low points, I guess you could say, of the study and what they tell us?
Sure. So if you know me, nothing's quick. I always give a long-winded explanation because I'm a researcher and I love doing it. But I'll try to be precise here. Really, there are some very, very cool findings. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the study. We basically did a study with CA in 2010, 2 years ago, and we basically found some interesting findings. And number one was that the security function in an organization is not necessarily involved in vetting or evaluating cloud providers. We also found that a lot of organizations had a jaundiced view about security in the cloud. And there were some variances in terms of industry and in terms of the position level of the respondent, but generally speaking, there was a view that on-premises IT is a much more secure environment, a much stronger organizational environment for security than the cloud provider. So we wondered, 2 years has passed, and did the world get better? Are people more excited about the cloud from a security perspective? Has cloud security improved in essence? And what we found is, good news, the answer is yes, but it's a small yes. We basically see that organizations still are generally negative about cloud, relatively speaking. I mean, we ask questions like, cloud computing applications are not vetted for risk, and let me say that again. Cloud computing applications that are not vetted for risk are not used. That's a good thing. And from a strongly agree perspective, 41% said that is in fact true 2 years ago. Now it's a whopping 51%. And before we get all excited about that another way of looking at that question is 49% are not doing this. And so in general, we basically find in a lot of ways that the organization and IT security practitioners that responded to our study still have doubts about security in the cloud. And their biggest concerns are around sensitive and confidential data.
One question that came up actually at this recent CSA summit, and it seemed to hit a hot button, was responsibility. And do you want to say a few words about that, and perhaps whether the study shed any light on who is responsible for cloud security?
Sure. So this is a real contentious issue, and it's a big problem in our industry. Generally speaking, a lot of the IT security practitioners that we know feel like they're out of the loop. They discover later on, and they may not discover it at all, that the end user is making the choices about what cloud applications to use. And they're cutting out the middleman, the IT department, and therefore the IT security function. So a lot of the security issues, unfortunately, don't even get noticed by an organization until you have a security exploit or a data breach. What we found is that in the world of software as a service, the organization perceived to be most responsible was the cloud provider. But in infrastructure as a service, it was a combination of in-house IT and the cloud provider. What was very, very interesting, in no cases, I mean, almost across the board, was the IT security department responsible for security in the cloud. That's a really depressing finding, given that there's so much potential risk in cloud environments.
So looking at the study, any, I guess, takeaways or key things that you would leave the audience, our readers with, also the people that you've talked to here at the RSA Security Conference?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, basically there are just 3 lessons learned in my mind. It might be more like 10 or 50, but the big 3, I think number 1 is be aware of the issue in your organization. And if you have this gap where you don't have the input from the security department or the IT security problem, that's indicative of a problem in and of itself. So get others who are knowledgeable involved and do the vetting make sure that the cloud provider has adequate security. Don't make it guesswork. Don't rely on, well, they must be good because they're working with these great companies. Make sure security is involved. I think number two, on the cloud provider side, cloud providers are trying to get better at security. So try to make sure that that there's more of a flow of what's going on. Try to ask the right questions. Don't assume that the cloud provider wouldn't provide that information to you, but kind of get them involved. And I think number three, look at technologies that could actually create more security in the cloud. 2 years ago, there was a small number of vendors that provided really good quality cloud services, for cloud security services. Now there are many, many companies that create a much higher level of security. And a lot of the smaller organizations or small to medium-sized companies actually can experience greater safety and security in the cloud. So even though there's this concern about cloud security, if you're a real little company, you might actually get better security in the cloud environment. So if you do those things, you'll probably be, well, you're not guaranteed to be in good shape, but you'll be in better shape.
Great. Well, Larry, thank you very much for your time, and we can't wait to dig further into the new study.